1956. A hospital waiting room in Baltimore. 12 people are waiting. 11 of them are still. One of them is a 38-year-old woman who has been waiting for 2 hours for news about her father. You would not know, looking at her, that she has been waiting for 2 hours. You would not know she is afraid. Her hands are folded in her lap. Her back is not touching the chair. Her eyes are level. When the doctor appears in the doorway, she stands without hurry and walks toward him with the same quality of movement she would bring to any ordinary room. The doctor will later say to his nurse that she was the most composed woman he had seen that week. He did not know she had been taught to be. 7 rules, all of them unspoken, all of them once known. Confidence in the 1950s was not a feeling. It was a practice. The women who were described consistently by their contemporaries and by the historical record as carrying themselves with extraordinary confidence were not women who were free of doubt or fear or uncertainty. They were women who had been given a set of physical and behavioral practices that produced the outward signals of confidence, regardless of their inner state. The practices came first. The feeling often followed, but even when it did not, the practices still worked. They still produced the response from other people that confidence produces. Here are 7 of them. Rule 1. Never apologize for taking up space. This was stated explicitly in women's self-presentation manuals of the 1950s and in the Deportment instruction that preceded them. A woman who moved through a room with a smaller physical profile than her body required, who angled her shoulders inward and reduced her footprint and spoke at the edge of audibility, was communicating her uncertainty to everyone who saw her. 1950s instruction told women to take the space their bodies needed. Stand with feet shoulder width, sit with both arms resting naturally, speak at the volume that reaches the whole room. These instructions were not about dominance. They were about the social read of a person who believed they had a right to be where they were. That read changes how everyone around you treats you. Rule 2. Pause before you speak. Women in 1950s deportment training were taught what instructors of that era called the considered response. When asked a question, you did not rush to answer. You took 1 to 2 seconds, appeared to consider, and then spoke. This practice did 2 things. It ensured that what you said was actually what you meant, rather than the first thing that came to mind. And it produced in the listener the sense that your answer had been thought through, that it was deliberate rather than reflexive. The pause is one of the most consistently underestimated social practices in the 1950s manuals. Women who paused before speaking were described as thoughtful, measured, and worth listening to. The women who spoke first were described as eager. Eager and worth listening to are not the same category. Rule 3. Dress as if something good might happen today. This phrase appears in women's style guides and personal correspondence of the 1950s, often enough to suggest it was a cultural touchstone. The practical instruction behind it was this. A woman who left the house dressed only for the tasks she expected to perform had foreclosed the rest of the day. She had told herself and everyone she encountered that she was not expecting anything beyond what she had already planned. A woman who dressed with care communicated the opposite. She was available to what the day might bring. She had not written off the unscheduled encounter, the unexpected invitation, the moment that would matter. The preparation made the possibility more likely because opportunity responds to readiness. Rule 4. Keep your eyes up when you walk. This was taught alongside posture instruction and is directly related to it. A woman who walked with her eyes on the ground communicated distraction, submission, or anxiety. A woman who walked with her eyes at eye level communicated awareness, presence, and purpose. The distinction was understood in the 1950s to be entirely physical and entirely learnable. It required only the habit of choosing where to direct your gaze. Eyes up also serves a practical function. A woman who is looking at the world around her is a woman who sees who is in it. She catches the eye of the acquaintance who might have become invisible if she had been looking down. She is seen and she sees. Both of these are things that the woman looking at the pavement misses entirely. Rule 5. Never run in public. This rule overlaps with the deportment practice of never rushing, but its confidence dimension is distinct. A woman who ran in public was communicating that she was behind, flustered, or not in control of her time. She was displaying her circumstances to every observer. 1950s instruction was explicit that even if you were late, the composed walk that covered the distance slightly more briskly than usual was preferable to the run. The run arrived at its destination, breathless and apologetic. The composed walk arrived slightly after schedule and still in possession of itself. There is a practical reality here. Being slightly late but composed produces a better outcome in most social and professional situations than being on time but rattled. 1950s women understood this. It shows in how they are photographed. Rule 6. The occupied hands principle. 1950s women's etiquette and confidence instruction frequently addressed what to do with your hands in social situations where you were not eating, not writing, not gesturing. The answer was that your hands should have something to do. A small handbag held by the handle, a cup of coffee held in one hand, a book or program in the lap. The occupied hands principle was based on the observation that hands with nothing to do tend to display anxiety in their movement, touching the face, adjusting clothing, fidgeting with rings. Hands given a task became still. Stillness read as composure. The object in the hand was not the point. The stillness it produced was. Women who understood this were rarely photographed looking self-conscious. They had given their hands somewhere to be. Rule 7. Do not discuss your troubles with acquaintances. This rule had two functions. The practical one was that sharing your anxieties and difficulties with people who were not intimate friends gave them a view of you organized around your vulnerability rather than your competence. The woman who led with her problems became, in social memory, the woman who had those problems. The woman who was warm and present and interested in others became someone people sought out. The second function was protective. Women in the 1950s understood that articulating difficulty to the wrong audience did not relieve difficulty. It distributed it. It spread the story before you had resolved it. Intimate troubles belonged to intimate relationships. Everything else got the composed and present version of you. Not because you were pretending, because you understood the difference between a confidant and an audience. These 7 practices were not taught as confidence-building exercises. They were taught as social graces, as deportment, as the proper way a woman conducts herself. The confidence was a consequence, not a stated goal. A woman who took her space and paused before speaking, and kept her eyes up, and walked without rushing and dressed as if the day might hold something, and gave her hands a purpose, and chose her confidants, carefully did not think of herself as practicing confidence. She thought of herself as behaving correctly. The behavior produced the result. Modern confidence culture has reversed this entirely. It tells women to feel confident first and let the behavior follow. The 1950s understanding was the opposite. Do the practices. The feeling often follows, and even when it does not, no one can tell. Begin with the pause tomorrow. When you are asked something, take 1 second before answering. Just one. You will not notice the second. The person you are speaking with will notice that you considered. Then add the eyes up rule. Every time you catch yourself looking at the ground while you walk, lift them. These 2 practices cost nothing. They require no product, no program, no subscription. They are the physical habits of a woman who believes she has a right to be where she is. That belief is not something you find. It is something you build, one practice at a time. The woman in Baltimore built it over 20 years of small, deliberate choices. None of the choices were dramatic. All of them compounded. The compounding is still available.